Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, we are all searching for ways to better evaluate players in order to give meaningful feedback. Over 15 years ago, I put together a test called the Jamodi Skill Rating. The JSR takes players through a series of tests involving basketball skill or athleticism, giving them one rating at the end. Their JSR rating will give you clarity on what needs to be discussed with players and parents on areas they need to focus on improving. I test our players at least 4 times each year. They're able to compete against each other, past players' scores, and most importantly, their past performances. If you'd like to start testing your athletes, email me at jamodipodcast@gmail.com for more information. Every coach deals with defeat over their career, and some seasons more than others. And as with all of your experience, how did you handle those moments with your team? Because I think that's where a lot of coaches, we talk to guys like right after they've won and we ask them how that felt. But most of us talk about the road more traveled. It'll be losses.
Well, I tee it up right off the bat before our very first game. And I tell them, win or lose, I will never talk to you more than 5 minutes after the game, and probably more like 3. And here's what it'll be. It'll be real simple. Hey, good job. All right, now look, tomorrow, 1:30, we got study hall, 3 o'clock practice. Don't forget you got a meeting with your academic counselor. Good job tonight, guys. Let's get one break. See you tomorrow. Same thing with loss. Okay, and it's really important. Here's why. So loss, you go, hey, didn't play great tonight. That's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out tomorrow. Hydrate, get your food. Remember, counseling meeting tomorrow, 1:30 study hall, 3 o'clock, whatever. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. We'll go from there. The reason is this. They are not listening to you after the game. They are hungry. They are tired. They are thirsty. They are frustrated. They are upset. Whatever the case may be. Of course, you can talk to them after you win because they're more receptive. But
You've got them. Yeah.
Why would you do that? You don't
Yeah.
you want to tell them that you're not going to talk to them. And here's the reason why. I would tell Matt, Baylor Bears, I will not. There'll be always 3 things to why we won or lost. I don't know what they are right now. I will know by tomorrow morning. I think I know, but typically you say things that are wrong. You say things that are emotional. You say things you don't mean. You say things you wish you could take back, and they're not listening anyway. So you condition them that win or lose, I'm really not going to talk too much after the game, okay? Because of those reasons, and you spell that out. I don't want to be emotional. I don't want to say things that aren't true. You're hungry, you're thirsty, you're tired. Okay, next day. Now, we're all calmed down. We're before practice, we're going through, okay, here's the 3 reasons why we lost. Okay, we only got 22 paint touches and whatever. We only got the line 7 times. They had 15 transition points, whatever. Okay, let's show a clip, bing, bang, bong. All right, here's how we're going to get better at that today. Here's how we're going to get better at that, and we're going to head out to practice and we're going to work on those 3 things. If they know, and this goes back to my routine, I had confidence that here's the other thing too, after a game, I'm telling you right now, I'm asleep no more than 45 minutes after the game because I'm going home and I'm not thinking about it because I don't know the results. And I know for me to be good, I need to get my sleep. I wake up at 4 in the morning. I'm in the office at 4:45. I now know I'm going to look at every inch of the film. I'm going to have my notes. I'm going to work through it. I'm going to know what the reason. And now I'm calm, I'm objective, and I can present it in an unemotional fashion. Now, if you lost the next day, is there a little more of an edge? Probably a little more of an edge. Come on, guys, we're better than this. Are you kidding me? Come on. We've been holding teams at 28% from 3. They shot 45. Who are we going to beat letting them make 10 threes? Come on. Or we didn't guard, whatever our core values were that year. We didn't guard the ball very well or whatever. Now, to get through that, just add a smidgen. One of the things I would also tell them, if you allow me to coach you every day like we lost last night, we got a chance to be really good. Because bottom line is, I ask them, what is it like? What is practice like, our meetings, if we lost? Kind of tense. Guys are kind of mad. You're kind of mad. There's an edge. Okay. What's it like when we win? Well, everybody's more relaxed or happier. I go, that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But I give you the night when we win to be happy. I give it to me. I give it to you. Let's be exuberant. Let's hug each other. Let's throw water on each other in the locker room. Whatever you want to do, go do it. Enjoy it. Don't think about anything. But when we wake up the next day, I would like to be able to coach you like we lost the night before. Now, there's a fine line there because you don't want to steal their joy. We understand that. But what I think handling defeat is really important, that most of the problems happen after the game. This long meeting, 45 minutes. I mean, come on, nothing's good. That I don't want to. I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm too mad. I'm too emotional. I'm too upset. The other thing, which during, let's say, a rough period, maybe you're on a 3-game losing streak, that is the absolute time to teach more, praise more, be more optimistic, be more positive. Look, your team's on a winning streak. You can drive them pretty hard. They can handle whatever you say and whatever you want to do when you're winning. Losing, not as much. So I thought one of my assistants, I were talking to a few of them a while back, and they are actually former players. Said, Coach, you know what you did really, really well? Well, I'm glad to hear there's one thing. They'd say,
you leaned in a little bit because this is
yeah,
rare.
yeah. They said, you're really good after the games. You flat out flipped the script quick. And whenever we struggled, you were really positive with us. And I think, again, I'll come back to it. Just think how more receptive you are to constructive criticism when you've won or you're winning, rather than when you're losing. You're already dealing with all your own BS and your frustration and what everybody on the outside's telling you. It's hard to deal with all that stuff. Much easier when you're winning.
Coach, I wrote down the word consistency, and then right after that, you had said it goes kind of with your routine. I think it's kind of remembering back to playing days, not knowing what coach we were going to get, not knowing what the consequences for winning or losing were going to be. That created a lot of unease in us that's unnecessary.
Yes.
Well, there's not many like I've tried to, in almost every area of coaching, try to get a little bit better, but there's been a few major things like I've adopted in our program that have been huge shifts, and one of those you really just nailed, which is eliminating post-game talks. And this idea came from Tyler Costin. He was with Savvy Coaching, but I knew him from his PGC days. Tyler's one of those guys that whatever the mainstream, like we're all going this way, he's going to go, now I'm over there. And so we're having this talk. It's episode 2, so almost 3 years ago. And he's like, if I was a coach, and at that point he wasn't, and he said I would eliminate post-game talks. And at that point, I mean, that was like what are you saying? But the longer since I made that choice, the more I do this, I find more guys like you that there's rarely anything good that is talked about right after even a win or a loss, because if we're all honest, it's easy to see or think of the negatives that happened in the loss, but there's almost just as many negatives that happened in a win. But we tend to gloss right past those. But if you take that approach of coaching every game or the next day as if we lost, that to me is a recipe for continual growth throughout the season. Because if you play bad teams and you win, but you're not addressing maybe some of the bad habits that are forming, that are growing, that's going to come back to bite you. And so to your point, and what Tyler said is, this has been almost 3 years now of, and Coach, I'm sorry for rambling myself, but this is to me, this is a way of holding yourself accountable to having a short post game. We don't go back to the locker room anymore. Win or loss, we shake hands, we go to the center circle, or if we're on an opposing team, an opposing gym, we just meet over by the bench. And when I have parents standing there watching us, it makes me be brief. I can't yell at them. I'm not going to undress them.
Yep.
And so my main thing is I love watching you play those 5 words, what the schedule is, we pray, and then and like Tyler and you both said, we let them go eat pizza, talk with their parents, see their friends, and then we'll address things later on. But that, Coach, that was a really impactful 5 minutes or so that you shared.
No, you're genius to do that. And I believe that right there is that post-game thing is the most destructive thing to any team and culture on any level. I would do that with third graders. I would do it with pros, flat out. Well, I wanted to jump in. One quick thing I forgot. We're talking about developing confidence real quick.
Yeah.
I think one of the ways you can develop confidence is you have to allow your guys to fail. And so as an example, let's say one of our core values was, okay, guard a 3-point, no threes, no layups. We want tough contested twos. Okay, so now you're guarding a guy in the post, tough contested two, and the guy makes the shot. I think it's really important that the coach and everybody on the bench, as they see this develop, great job, whether it goes in or not. Great. So when it goes in, great job. He has to know, and that's just one example, he can do things correctly and fail, and that's okay. It can't be you're guarding him. Your core values are, look, no threes, no layups. Okay, we want the twos to be tough contested twos. And now he does that, and the kid makes a shot. Great example right now. Let's say you're guarding DJ Burns at NC State. He makes a tough shot. You squared him up right over the top of you, or whatever. He's slippery, but play great D.
Yeah.
Bench moans. He moans. It drops his head. It affects the next play.
No doubt.
And it affects his. So you have to flat out give them a way to fail, and it's okay. Now, I'm not talking about a lack of effort, or if your core value is, look, defensively, if you're in the low hole and you don't rotate when he comes baseline and draw a charge, that's a non-negotiable, you're out. Okay, if that's fine, if that's what you are into, and I was into that, that's fine, that's great. But I'm talking about when you do things right and you fail, it has to be, and I think it's a huge deal. And I think the best guy in the NBA at guarding tough players and then making shots is Drew Holiday. If you watch him, he doesn't change his expression. And if you're guarding good players, they're going to make shots.
Yeah.
I think the bench and the coach really helps with great job, awesome, great job. You just scored. That's okay. You couldn't guard him any better.
Coach, so, you nailed it. Yeah, that's such a great point. In my small corner of basketball in Dallas Fort Worth, where our program is known for shooting threes, and not just that we are shooting threes just to say that we do. We use it as a weapon to create the pace that we want to play, and more importantly, the space that we want to play with. Because if all 5 guys are willing to shoot, and the other team knows that, I find the paint to be pretty wide open, especially if we don't have anybody standing down there. So, but sometimes, coaches will say that they're really going to try to open it up and shoot a little bit more, let their guys shoot more. And I never say like, no, you're not, I'm never disrespectful or anything like that. But if I get to watch them play or play against or somehow see on film, Coach, you nailed it. Like, really quick whether or not those players have the confidence from their coach to do what they're being asked to do. One of very few, like you kind of said, like player compliments. Very rarely do you have opposing fans compliment you. But I had a parent come up one time and say, your players just shoot with this just crazy like confidence and freedom. And I said, thank you. We the guys work really hard at that. But at the same time, the control or the challenge is exactly what you said. When we shoot what we would call a seven, a wide open jump shot within their range, when they shoot a seven, that is a successful possession, a successful attempt, no matter if it goes in or not. The moment that after a miss, I sulk, I sit down, I put my hands up, I close, or I say, make a shot, step up, knock it down. Like, it's what are they trying to miss? Were they not trying to do that before? The moment that our team only celebrates on a made three, part of our culture is we all stand up on every attempted three. So by our standards, guys should be exhausted, standing up and down, say up and down, up and down. But it is all about the way that not just the because if a missed shot is a mistake, then golly, we're failing most of the time. But it's how we react to that. And I just thought that was a great point that you can use it towards shooting, but any area of confidence that we want our players to have, we have to be rewarding. And Gannon Baker said it, we have to be rewarding the try. And so often we are only rewarding, we're rewarding the good or upset with negative, quote unquote.
I don't like fouls at all, but the one foul we'd always applaud for is a blockout foul. We'd stand up, every guy a block, because in theory, you know this. If you're not getting called for probably blocking out as a foul almost every time, just about. I mean, a great majority of the time. So my point is, if you're really going to block out, you're going to get some blockout fouls. So it's the only foul that we would ever applaud for, because it was our core values that, we wanted to control the boards and all of that. I want to ask you a quick question. What is a seven?
Oh man. If and I'll keep this brief because this could be a podcast. If post game or talks, eliminating those is one of the things that's been really transformational. Shot selection scale is the other thing, because I don't care what level of play. Shot selection to me is one of the most personal things to a player. You want to cripple someone's confidence. You tell them they can't shoot that shot, or that's a bad shot. It's also one of the most misunderstood or vague areas of coaching. You sit behind a bench and say, guys, we're not taking good shots. Hey, let's only take great shots right now. Hey, we got to eliminate some of those bad shots. Coach, I have no clue what those things are that you're saying, because those words are going to mean different to little Timmy to all the way up to your best player. Little Timmy thinks as soon as I cross half court, that's my best shot. So he's not talking about me. So we need to have, in the most personal piece of the game, we need to have a common language. And this is just from PGC. I learned it from them in their shooting college that they had, because I was able to direct for that. And it was one of the biggest things I stole. So no such thing as a 10. I asked the guys, have you ever missed a layup before? I did. I give them a story, and I played in Iceland for 1 year, and I missed 2 layups in a row, back to back, the same possession. So no such thing as a 10. A 9 is an open layup. We love 9s. We hunt for 9s. If our offense isn't creating some 9s, we got to look at our spacing. We got to look at our pace. I skip 8s. I go to 7s. A 7 is a wide open jump shot within your range. That within your range part is where I think coaching comes in with our shooting games that we play, with the way that we establish what a good shot is for them is what a 7 is. And ultimately we love for every player faith to be able to shoot a 3 as a 7. But if they don't establish that is through shooting games and through charting, then they need to know their 7. And I would jokingly tell them at 42, my 7's a layup. Like, I can't shoot outside the paint. I don't practice enough. 8 is a contested layup. We still like 8s because you can get fouled. You can play off a 2. If you get in the weight room, you can finish through contact with an 8. And then you go to a 6. A 6 is a contested jump shot. 6s get you beat, fellas. 5's a 50-50 shot. One that you wouldn't bet $100 on. That 5s and 6s are why you lose games. It's not 7s, 8s, or 9s. So we will celebrate every 7, 8, or 9. I will not bring my frustration into a missed 7. And what it's done, Coach, is it has freed up me to be
Yes.
able to coach the action, the try, and not be resulting.
I'll tell you what, I love that. I wish I'd had this podcast with you or learned this from you 10 years ago. It would have helped my team. I mean, we coded it and did some similar things, but the way you expressed it, I like yours even better. I really do. And you believe me, I believe this, and I've never had anybody, well, had a couple people argue with me on it, but I believe this. I think since the dawn of time, the hardest thing to teach is shot selection. Hardest thing. It's because it's so personal. And everybody's evaluated in their life by how how, how you played is how many points you scored, as opposed to, the rest of it. Again, in my book, I talk about there's some things about it where talk about how, like, if you're really good, most of us are judged. The first thing is on how we played well, if we scored points or didn't score points. And that it takes a player with deep inner confidence to really have the ability when someone says, "Hey, you won, but you only scored 4," and truly have that not bother them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly. Like, you have to have a lot
Not
of
just fake it, but like, yeah.
You really, it's like, I write about one player in the book that got 38 the night before, and about how he got 4 the next day. And when people, it was like, didn't bother him. He knows, hey, I'm the best player in the state. Every play is run for me. I'm going to get mine. It's good for other people to play, and it's good for me, other people to score, and us to win big. Deep inner confidence. Doesn't have to verbalize it. You know that he knows it. I think that's a big deal. I love your shot selection coding.
I borrowed
I
it.
can
I
sit here
borrowed
right
it
now.
just like everybody else. But
You know what?
borrowing something, but truly implementing it and having conviction towards it, that's different, right? Like, because you can hear great scales, and there's probably a bunch that work. That's the one that it has transformed us. And you tell me about your team's culture. I ask how you deal with shot selection. I
Oh,
think those two things. I don't know if there is more of a connection between a healthy culture within a program and shot. I think they're the most intertwined.
well, you made a great point, and I just had this conversation yesterday with Mike Dunlap. We were walking and for about 3 hours, and I, I said the hardest part about shot selection is not letting it become personal, meaning personal on your end too, where
Yep.
you get. I used to be like, my line of work used to be, I don't want that kind of shot. I'm not putting up with that. As I grew later on, I would say, "Hey, Matt, I cannot continue to penalize your teammates for allowing you to shoot shots
Mm.
that are going to get us beat. I can't do that to your teammates. The percentages show that take the emotion out of it,
Yep.
put it off, get it off of you, make it less personal." To your point, I think that's a great point. And now it just becomes, "Oh, I can't do that to your."
We teach everything else we teach. Like, we teach them when you closed out, your angle was like, what's a better, let me even rephrase that, because I think the more that we can ask questions to help them get to the answer that we want them to see,
Yeah.
the more we can ask them to where they're a co-contributor to the learning. So instead of that's a bad shot, it's or go back to the closeout. Instead of, hey, you're closed out at the wrong angle. Let me ask you, what type of angle did you close out? Did you feel like you're high or low? And they, hey, I was a little bit low. I was like, yeah, when you're low like that, I think you give up middle a little bit more. So what can you do? I'll just make sure my top foot, and you lead them down that path. We do that with other parts of the game. But with shot selection, it's you're taking dumb shots. Stop taking bad shots. So my favorite question is, hey, rate that. Rate that shot you just took. Yeah, coach, that's a 6. You know what? I completely agree. It's a 6. What can you do instead of a 6? If he's that close to me, I can peek, I can lift, I can go. Do you have a teammate that's even more dangerous than you that you can move it to? you know what? Let's attack that. Let's attack that defender instead of taking the 6. Or guys, listen, I think we're shooting a lot of 6s right now. Let's not just give into that feeling that that's the best we can get. We can get 7s, 8s, and 9s if we're a little bit more patient, if we play with a little bit more space and pace. But I think that the question method is a great way, but without the scale, man, it's hard.
I love that. I love every part of what you did. I think that is a genius. It's the adaptation to today's modern kid, which I don't care what anybody says. Shot selection for getting at time is the hardest thing to coach. I don't care what anybody says. So I love that. That's really good, Matt.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.